Hi, folks. I'm Danielle.
And I'm Amelia.
Welcome to Sibyl's Lab of Cartomantics. This is Sibyl Unscripted, the monthly series where we put some story into conversation with the tarot. And this month, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to be actually doing a limited series, the Marvel Disney Plus limited series, Agatha All Along from 2024, 9-episode arc. And be warned that there are plenty of spoilers ahead. So watch the series first.
So this is where we would usually give you a quick rundown of the movie plot, but since we're talking about an entire 9-episode story arc, we're going to take a little bit of a different approach this time. So the story is organized around the titular character Agatha, but she is just one member of a coven. In place of an over-lengthy summary, we'll just introduce all of our players and witches. So there's Agatha Harkness, our anti-heroine who's looking to reclaim her magic. There's Teen, aka Billy Maximoff, who's trying to understand his murky origin and his powers. There's Alice, a protector witch, Jen, a potion witch, Lilia, a divination witch, and finally Death, otherwise known as Rio. And we'll chat more about their specific story threads as we go along. But just remember the Coven, who are experiencing a collective journey through a series of trials known as the Witch's Road.
Now it's deck introduction time. I'm going to be working with something a little on the nose. The Agatha All Along themed tarot from Insight Editions came out a few weeks ago. I snapped it up right away. Feel a little nerdy that I was so excited. But this is Insight Editions listened to folks who really wanted tarot decks that were minors illustrated. So this is one of those decks. It's well organized. So aside from each of the suits being representative of one of the trials. So, for example, our Potion Witch Jen has a water-related trial, so the entire cup suit is connected to that trial. Also, our first 6 cards are matched to members of the Coven. So we get sort of an introduction of the players as these primary archetypes before we then go on the journey of the rest of the tarot. This is going to be my first time reading with this deck, so we'll see if I like it as much in practice as I like it in theory. But I'm eager to hear what it is that you're going to be working with, Amelia.
So I'm going to be working with the traditional Rider-Waite. I have here my Albano weight because it's my favorite version. The reason I'm using this is because this is the deck that Lilia uses throughout the show. There is an entire episode dedicated to a tarot reading, and at a certain point, it kind of morphs from the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith into the deck that Danielle has. So putting these two in conversation together felt like a good symbol for the show. Yeah, I think, are we ready to go?
Let's go. Our first question, we're sticking with what we normally ask at first. This is our traditional question, characterizing our thoughts and feelings about the series by intentionally choosing 1 to 2 cards. So we're going to take a second and choose 1 to 2 cards that we think are really representative of our feelings about the series and the shape of it, how we feel about the story in general before we dig in and start doing some readings about its different pieces. I've already picked mine. Have you already picked yours, Amelia? All right. I'll get us started. So I chose first the Magician. So here is Billy Maximoff / Teen. We ultimately learn that he is part of the construction and foundation of the Witch's Road. So that's our journey. We're going on the different trials, and here we have all of the elements that he uses to craft the journey that we're going to go on. He has the different tools of the creation, the elemental creation of this journey. So I love that. The Temperance card, I have to say the guidebook is really helpful in understanding some of these more enigmatic cards. The Temperance card, I didn't quite understand. This is the door to the Witch's Road, but in the book it explains that that's the moment when he's sealing the door. So this is our well-rounded ending to him doing his magical spell to seal the door and reset the equilibrium. And I kind of love that. Going on the journey with him, I think he's the sanest of the bunch. So maybe that's why I'm passing my experience of this story onto his experience. Those are the two that I think sort of represent the story full circle. What about you?
Okay, so I picked a couple cards here. The first card I picked is the Queen of Wands, because this, I was telling you before we started, hit record on this, This show got me, the theater and like performance side of me, really excited. It was really, the storytelling was so creative. I loved Catherine Hahn's performance in this. Like my actor brain was analyzing how amazing she is the whole time I was watching the show. And so this just really, like, it felt like a fire igniting while I was watching the show. The second card I picked was the world. Because I mean, quite literally love the world of this show. It was really beautifully created, and the story, the way the story kind of wove into it, and the way the setting was so important to the story. It was really like its own character, but also, you know, thinking about the archetype of the world, the whole idea of going on a journey and coming through the end and the rebirth that the world brings. That was just a really lovely arc. I won't say lovely, maybe that's not the right word, but an exciting arc to follow. I found it really interesting and intriguing, and I liked watching it all. But yeah, those are my two cards.
It is not lovely, is it? It's not gentle, but it is a journey. It feels sort of transformative. All right.
But it's an exciting one. Like, I don't know. I never wasn't happy while I was watching the show. I'll say that.
Makes me really happy. I'm more of a Marvel nerd than you are, so I'm really happy that you like came out on the other side, not like, oh man, you gave me homework. So we're both gonna nerd out during this. This is normally the part of the video where we would do some character deep dives in a film and analyze the story from that framework. But this time, because we're talking 9 episodes, we're talking lots of story threads, we're going to look at sort of different character and story dynamics as a way to dig into what's happening. So different relationships or story moments. We're going to start with an interesting, like sort of tense, a little bit toxic and violent relationship between Agatha and her lover, Rio, who we ultimately learn is the face of death. So like what they call her sort of the ultimate Earth witch, because we all go back to Earth. So they have, from episode 1, it's clear they have a situationship that's sort of violent and murderous, but we're not clear on what's going on. Over the course of this story, this evolves into something that we understand is connected to the reaping or passing of Agatha's very young son, Nicky, and her, I think resentment is an understatement for people. I have dogs, people have human children. I would imagine there's a lot of resentment connected to what you feel like is the taking of this piece of your soul and body. So there is that intensity between them and that tension that underlies the fullness of the story and all of its other threads. So we're going to make some sense of that, hopefully.
So our first question kind of starts with this idea that even as they're trying to kill each other, there's this subtext between the two of them that is very passionate, but also filled with hate. It's toxic and confusing. So keeping all of this drama in mind, our first question is, how did the story of Agatha and Rio start before all of the turmoil around Nicky's reaping? Okay. So are we going to each pull 3 cards, or are we going to pull 1 card each?
These are big questions. Why don't we each pull 2 to 3 cards and see? I mean, so what we ultimately learn, the only thing we learn about the origins is the moment when hundreds of years ago, they're reunited during the delivery of Agatha's son. But we're never introduced to their first moment of connection. I mean, Amelia, did you get the sense they had already met before then?
Yeah. I got this sense that, I got the sense that they had some sort of contract.
Yes.
Because of Agatha's specific, kind of succubus powers. So, but I don't know. I don't know that feels like the bones, but what's the flesh of that relationship? Okay, so let's put some cards on.
I'm just going to pull 2 cards and see what I can contribute to the mess that is their relationship. Man, it's a fascinating one. And Aubrey Plaza, her version of death, Rio, man.
Oh, chef's kiss, man. Okay, I take it back. Favorite character, Rio.
Really?
Love me some Aubrey Plaza.
Okay. I'm going to sit with these for a moment, but I got the Queen of Cups, which is our divination witch, Lilia, and the Eight of Pentacles, a moment of connection between Agatha and Billy during the last trial.
Okay, fascinating. So I got the Page of Cups. Interesting. And I got the Six of Pentacles.
Something's happening between water and earth here, huh? Okay.
What's your bottom card, by the way?
Let's see. The Emperor. So here's Alice Wu, the cop turned, or not turned. She's always a protector fire witch, but she is our Emperor.
Mine is Justice on the bottom.
There is, okay, so what do we have here that's consistent? We have water / person, we have earth, and we have a major buried under there serving as the foundation of what's happening. Okay. Okay. So I have this is my very seed of an interpretation. I think that you're onto something. Like, we come to learn that Agatha's powers are connected to her, we'll call her a succubus. I feel like that is a very ungenerous read. The way she was born, it's not her fault. But she is reviled, understandably, for surviving and taking the magic and powers of other witches. So that's the way she was made. And yet she is sort of rejected for that. And it makes sense that her connection, so here she is she is vulnerable in her way, but she hides it. But it is her work, what she does. Like, that is the work that her body was made for. And that Rio / death would be her only ally. Rio's job is reaping. It's not like Rio revels in killing people, but like that's the role of death. And there must be death if there's life. So I think that there's a way in which they literally support each other, like in their function of like succubus who kills and takes magic and survives that way, but also in really serving as a holding presence for each other in a world that would otherwise reject them for their work. I don't know. That's where I'm going. What about you?
No, I mean, I'm seeing something really similar. I feel like the Six of Coins is affirming what I said about, like, you know, it is a relationship built on reciprocity. Like, yes. Agatha's powers are doing something for Rio. Rio is almost, I mean, if you think about their, like, the way they've positioned death in this series is that she is also the seed of new life, right? Yes. She is the original Green Witch. So in order for life to happen, Rio has to come do her thing first. And it follows that if Agatha is going to do her thing anyway, is going to keep killing these witches by taking their powers, then Rio might as well come and make something of it. She might as well collect the souls and create new life from that. So it's, you know, it is a relationship that is built off of this, you do you, I'm going to do me, and they work in tandem together, right? You know, and there was an interesting moment in the second to last episode when Rio's like on top of the roof.
Yes.
Kind of, you know, cackling at Billy or whatever. And she kind of has this moment where she's like, why is everybody so scared of me all the time?
Yes.
Like, why does everybody hate me? She really is just doing her job. And I think both of them are, in a way. This is the lot they were given in life. And that's where I feel like this page comes in. I wouldn't necessarily characterize either of them as a page, right? But I think at one point, both of them were young people, beings, things who have something that people don't like, right? And I think they built a connection off of being the outsiders, being the ones that nobody loves, the ones that nobody wants, because who wants death? And then also, who wants to be in a coven with a witch who's going to steal your powers and kill you? Like, what, you know? So I think not only are they providing for each other in the sense of what their job is, what they are here to do, but they're also maybe providing some sense of emotional possibility even with each other, because I think they couldn't potentially have any kind of an emotional connection with anybody else than somebody else who also is in a similar position as them, until Agatha has a baby. And I think there might be something going on there.
I appreciate Rio because she is not deceptive, and Agatha is part of, I think that's built into her succubin energy. Is that an adjective? But there is a really vulnerable moment around a campfire when they're asking, I think, all of the coven about regrets. And Rio says that there was a time when she had to hurt someone she really loved. And we know she's talking about Agatha, that she was in love with her and knew that doing her job would turn Agatha into her enemy. Willingly, but she has to do what she has to do. All right, our next question. What is that?
Okay, so our next question is, what should we know about their relationship that never really comes through, given the intensity of their turmoil during the story? So what's underneath the surface there?
There's like, in the first episode, Rio is really trying to murder her, right? Did you get the sense like she's literally trying to kill her? And yet we know she loves Agatha. It's a bizarre. All right, let's see what the cards can make of this.
Oh, I got the Hanged Man and the Four of Swords.
I got the Two of Swords and the Eight of Swords.
A lot of swords energy.
Yeah.
Fascinating. I mean, I get the sense that I'm like trying to kind of find my way there, but I'm really getting the sense that like Rio wants Agatha back. Like Rio, she wants her to join her. Yeah.
I look at these and feel two is like this kind of fixed stuckness. They're standing under the two swords in gridlock. And here we have Lilia, and I would say she's the embodiment of their relationship of Agatha and Rio. So it's not just that it's one or the other. Maybe Rio is the wolf and Lilia is Agatha, but they're stuck. Like there is no getting out of this, right? There's no moment. I think that's the mournful part of their dynamic. It's not as if Agatha will ever get Nikki back, as if she can ever fully forgive Rio for doing what Rio had to do. And that is just how things will always be. And I think they're both sad about that. Like there is like a kind of a mourning, this gridlock that can never be untangled, undone. How are you reading your cards?
Well, I mean, I also have some static energy here going on. So that's really fascinating to see between the two of us. Our cards have been really talking to each other so far. It's fascinating. Yeah. Yes, I think I agree with you. I think there is this sort of like they're stuck in this relationship, whether they want to be there or not. But I also am just really like, I mean, the Hanged Man is the traitor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that Agatha absolutely feels like she has been betrayed by this person that she had this sort of relationship with. I'm going to call her a person. We all know death is an entity, but I'm going to call her a person because she's personified. Yeah, that she's really that there's the betrayal there, right? But I think that Rio is kind of wanting her to be able to look past that and to really like put that to rest so that they can have that relationship again. And she won't so she doesn't feel so alone as she moves throughout her duty in this world. But yeah, they are absolutely in a position where neither one of them is going to change who they are. Um,
They're in this forced intimacy
and that,
too.
you know,
It
yeah.
they can't change, and they do have this intimacy. I think Rio is the only one who knows in the coven what happened to Nikki. And otherwise, we don't, there's speculation, none of which is favors Agatha's reputation to what happened to her child. So Rio um, is the only one who knows that she's not a monster, at least not in relationship to what happened to her child. There's something so sad about the nature of their love. Yeah, it's a tragic, but like deliciously vicious relationship. All right, let's move on to the next question. Okay, so we're talking about how Agatha and Rio's relationship, sexual tension, toxicity, and gives us one flavor, one mask of Agatha. She does, we discover, have a softer and nurturing side before we get the episode where we dig deep into her relationship with Nikki, her child, and her growth as a parent. We have some speculation about who Teen is. We call him Teen because we're not sure of his name. His identity is hidden for the first part of the series. So Agatha has a sort of maternal relationship with this child who may or may not be Nikki, as far as we're speculating. She's still grieving her son. We know that. It makes sense that she would hope that Teen may actually be Nikki's spirit. But our first question is, what should we take away from Agatha's relationship to Billy, considering that it's mediated through grief over the loss of her own son? So kind of what do we make of Agatha and the way that this otherwise kind of cruel and impatient woman interacts with Teen, and how that is or is not influenced by her yearning for Nikki, her potential belief that Teen is Nikki? Did you have a sense that she really believed that, Amelia?
I don't think she believed it, but I think she wanted it to be true.
Yeah.
Like I don't think, I don't think, as she said, she knew that Billy was a Maximoff from the get-go, but I don't think she believed that it was Nikki.
Yeah.
Okay. What should we take away?
I do have to say I don't love these card backs. How are we feeling about them? I don't like them.
They're okay. I mean, the whole moon, because all the moon phases on the doors of the houses, and
that's right.
It does its job. It's a card back.
Card back. We love that as an answer to a question. It works. It's a card back. All right. My answer is somewhere in another 8 of Swords along with a 7 of Cups. So let me sit with this, but we have the 8 of Swords plus the 7 of Cups as some indication of the relationship between Agatha's grief and her relationship and dynamic with Teen. What are your cards?
I got the 3 of Wands and the 6 of Swords.
Okay, more swords.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I would say that because we're not sure who he is, Agatha can imagine any number of possibilities, like naturally, and I think it makes sense. All of the coven is like, who is this kid? And who could he be? And like sort of imagining the different possibilities. So this card of like sort of creative thinking and imagination and options makes sense for all of them, trying to work out his identity, and even him when he's unsure of who he is. But this optional kind of openness, we don't know who he is, like who could he be, is a place where we finally, and if you've seen WandaVision and see the rest of the way that Agatha interacts with people, this is the site of us truly seeing her stuckness with Nikki. I don't feel like there's any other time when I get an impression of Agatha as a woman in deep grief. So like the exercise of seeing her interact with Teen, her fingering her her locket, and people making references on the side to Nikki and what really happened to him. I think that this open question of his identity is a place where she can finally express in a visible way the fact that she's never really resolved this hole in her heart. What are you thinking about your Six of Swords, and what is it?
Three of Wands.
Okay.
So I think it's something similar is happening here. I think she is, it's so fascinating. I remember asking my husband, I was like, why was she so insistent on bringing this like unknown teenager along with her? It seems like such a risk, considering what she's doing.
Yeah.
And I think she recognized a possibility in him where she could map on the relationship of mother and child, and potentially go off together and start a new life. Maybe not a new life. She's still going to be Agatha, but like just go off together. I think, and that's ultimately what we get in the end, isn't it? She like stays in the afterlife as a ghost, and we get the impression that they're now partnered up. They're going through life together. Billy Maximoff with his ghost familiar by his side. But I think she saw him as this teen who was coming to her for help.
Mm-hmm.
Saw him as this potential and this door that she could step into, where she could have that child relationship again. There's something so interesting about this Six of Swords, that it's not a lone person in a boat heading off. It is a presumably a woman, but an adult and a child together. And I think that is her opportunity to have that again.
That is so like a woman and child setting off on a journey. That feels a little on the nose. As we're talking about this, and this gets into our next question, but I can't help but think that Agatha, who we never see say this or reflect this, appreciates that like Teen/Billy is like Agatha, this amazing and powerful witch. Like she enjoys seeing herself through his eyes, and she really hasn't done anything to earn this goodwill. So the second question about their dynamic, what are, once he finally realizes his identity and that he is Billy Maximoff, the child of Wanda, who is the arch nemesis of Agatha, and there's a whole set of feelings and politics behind that. And yet, I don't think that even after that realization, we see Billy be like, oh my God, she is my enemy. There's still this fascinating affinity that is like, it feels like love to me or something. So she is, I would say, the villain in his origin story, but he does seem to love and care for her. He has no incentive at the end when he comes back and as Wiccan. Like if you know superhero sort of mythology, it's Billy Maximoff who becomes Wiccan in the sort of Marvel universe eventually. But we see him as Billy come back in a magic costume and like float and gift her stuff. Like why would he do that? He has no incentive to be generous to her. Is it just admiration? Is it him mapping mother trauma onto her? So yeah, what are his feelings about Agatha? what would you say about that before you pull some cards?
Well, I thought that was a really fascinating moment because presumably he left the, morgue basically and went off to go find his brother who he was searching for the whole time. So I found it interesting that he chose to come back to save Agatha. And I'm curious as to why.
Well, what evidence does he have that she would leave him? Well, we know that Agatha,
that moment of trust when he starts using his powers against her so that she can take them, I was like, you are playing with fire there, my friend.
He's a smart kid. We see him be strategic, and you have only seen Agatha take and take and take. What on earth would make you trust that she wouldn't kill you to take all of your power? I mean, she tried that with his mother. All right, anyway, we'll stop babbling, but let's see what the cards have to say. All right, I have the Hierophant and the Four of Wands. The Hierophant being Lily, the divination witch, and the Four of Wands, them entering Alice Wu's trial. All right, so what do you have?
I got the Seven of Wands and the King of Pentacles.
That card, the King of Pentacles, is one of the reasons I love the Albano white. That's such a great coloration of that card.
He is swampy. He is he is earth. He is earth.
The Green Witch. Okay. So this feels like the Hierophant as teacher. Bottom line, she is the most powerful witch that he knows. He doesn't know his mother, really. And Agatha, this incredibly powerful witch, is serving voluntarily at times and seemingly unmanipulatively at times as something of a mentor and teacher to him. And she is a connection, the only connection that he has living to his childhood. Like, good or bad, villain or hero, she is a figure and face that he can remember from before his reincarnation, like whatever. It feels so, I want to be like therapy, my love. It's so trauma driven to be like, I'm gonna love her in part. I mean, I am here for like the superhero world and forgiveness as a lesson in a story. So if what we got was Billy just intensely understanding and accepting what Agatha did and then forgiving her, that would be one thing. But I don't feel like he has ever just stopped and said, you tried to kill my mom, right? Like, you tried to ruin my life and threatened to kill me. I don't know. I have feelings. I want him in therapy.
Yeah. So I feel like Billy at this point now really feels like he's up against the world,
Yeah.
And there's something about the King of Pentacles. I mean, it's so funny you called it the Green Witch, and I see that a little bit, but I also see it as this like representation of everything that is of this world, right? Like the King of Pentacles is the end of tarot, depending on the way you view it. And so I think, he feels like he's at a moment where he doesn't understand the world moving forward. He does not. And if anything, he feels like he just went through all of these trials with these witches who were like mothers killed by curses and someone was bound. I mean, he feels like he's in a precarious position. And this is the only other person that he knows that is living and accessible, that can at least relate in any way to that position. So I feel like he feels a little bit of a kinship with her. whether it's a healthy relationship or not. Yeah, there is an understanding of each other.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember at the end when we all realized with him that he is the architect of the Witches Road, and yet a bunch of people died on the Witches Road, which means even if he did not intend for that to be the outcome, these are people who would not be deceased if it wasn't for this universe that he did not intend to create. And Agatha says to him, don't you dare apologize. Like, don't you dare apologize for who you are and what power you have. There's something so beautiful and nurturing about that. That I want them to both sit in therapy, but there's something magical about their weird, intense thing.
Yes. Okay, last topic. We are going to be exploring Lilia's subplot. So with 9 episodes, we're leaving a lot of seriously significant stuff on the table, but we only have so much time, and we couldn't do this edition of Sibyl Unscripted without paying some special attention to the subplot of our divination witch Lilia, played by the infamous Patti LuPone. Side story, I've also been rewatching Penny Dreadful, and I just watched the episode of Patti LuPone as the cut wife. If you haven't watched that and you're watching this, go watch Penny Dreadful. It's wonderful. Okay, so we come to learn that Lilia is centuries old and her consciousness slips through time. So over the course of the show, we see her kind of go through increasing episodes of disconnection and incoherence, and almost like she's getting pieces of the puzzle, but not the full picture. So the first question that we have about Lilia is, what should we understand about her life as a divination witch as she's moved across continents and decades? She seems to have suffered as a young girl who was reviled for predicting death and destruction. So that's not an awesome life to live. But when we catch up with her in her campy, tarot studio, she doesn't exactly seem to be living the high life either. So when was she living her best life? When was she at her most powerful and at her best? All right. So what should we understand about Lilia? I loved all of those flashback scenes with her grandmother.
Yes.
They were really sweet.
They were. And she is a strong character. You don't get a sense of her as a person who was victimized through centuries, even if that was true. Like, she doesn't experience her life as having been one of victimhood. But like, girl, I'm eager to see what the cards have to say. Maybe they have to say that it was her early life with her grandmother, because those are beautiful scenes, and those dresses. All right, I got the 9 of Cups and the 10 of Cups.
Ooh, okay. I got the 2 of Swords and the King of Cups.
Ooh, those colors, the albino weight, man. That King of Cups is beautiful.
It is the best. It is the best Rider-Waite Smith.
What was the Swords card?
2 of Swords.
Here we go. Yep. Okay. All right. Let's do it. The guidebook is nice and succinct in case people are wondering how this is a 9 of Cups. During this trial, they need to get out before they die, and like the door opens that allows them to get out. So that's a wish come true. And I needed to like look up the meaning of this card when this deck first came, because this didn't feel very 9 of Cups at first. Okay. All right. I am going to say it's clear, I think, that all of the witches have at moments had active covens. Like, I don't remember Lilia talking about that exactly, but I do get a sense of her as a person who has not lived in isolation. And it makes me think that this unseen set of periods maybe where she had covens that she could build family with or something, that those were her escapes, that's where she really felt goodness, kinship. And she is clearly like a sort of an emotionally driven person. The sweetness of her relationship with her grandmother, sort of beautiful and episodic. So I think that's where I would go with this. But what would you do with your Two of Swords and King of Cups?
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, so in that scene or that whole episode where we're having the flashbacks with the grandmother, I mean, and she ultimately declares herself as the Queen of Cups, right? And I get the sense that, because she talks about how she was getting these, what does she call them? Like glimpses since she was a child, but they don't always come in ways that make sense. And I get the sense that it's not easy to be someone who's just living their life and all of a sudden you see either something that makes sense and is clear but isn't great, like the death of your family, or or that is a small piece of a puzzle. And she there's this dynamic that she has with the other witches where they think she's a little bit batty, right? They think she's kooky. I think is the word they use. And so I get the sense that there have been certain moments throughout her life where she was able to kind of get that they talk about tarot and divination as the swords. That's how they kind of posit within the storyline. And she was able to really kind of control and balance this gift that she has. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't just the Queen of Cups, she was the King of Cups. She was like, she felt like she had completely mastered this thing that she has that really isn't comfortable to live with. And everything was balanced and within her control, and she was able to manipulate and move things as she wanted and needed to. But throughout much of her life, I also get this sense that wasn't really a possibility. So my bottom card is actually the High Priestess. And I feel like, who is the High Priestess in that deck? That's
that's Jen, the Potion Witch.
Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I just feel like if we're talking about a divination witch and the High Priestess is what comes up on the bottom, it's like that is the gift that does not give, right? Like, having insight into the mysteries of the world is not as great as it's cracked up to be. And so when she was living her best life was when she was really able to get this gift under control and feel like she was the one in charge, not the gift itself.
Yeah.
All right. So our next question then is, what can we learn about tarot from the character of Lilia and the episode that features the tarot trial?
We do, I think, because of the flashbacks and flash forwards, she assigns people tarot identities throughout. She actually calls Jen the High Priestess at some random moment in an earlier episode. She calls Alice Wu the Knight of Wands during a scene where she's performing some magic. And that's before we even get to the tarot trial near the end. So yeah, like she's bringing tarot in all along, but then we have our big dramatic tarot episode where Agatha is dressed as the Wicked Witch, and I live for it. I love a Wicked Witch. I love it.
All right. So what can we learn about tarot? I love everything the grandmother was saying about, like, tell me what you see, you know? Yeah.
I got the 3 of Pentacles and the 10 of Pentacles.
Ooh.
I can't help but think that this is saying something about doing tarot in community, whether that is community of people that you're reading for or community of like tarot besties that you make YouTube videos with, or anything. There's something I think tarot is a language, and you need to speak language with other people, even if your community is sort of online participation in tarot groups or something. We only see Lilia really figure things out, and she figures out how tarot can be helpful in her serving the group in the ideal role for her. And that 10 of Pentacles, I like the idea. This is when Agatha at the end comes up from the basement and finishes at least her journey on the witch's road. But I think that this is an invitation to see things through to the end. So don't get a reading and just stop with I learned a thing in a reading. Like, we see Lilia fulfill what she finds in the cards, and that's what I think we should do with tarot. Take the data, take the information, and make a choice and see it through to the end.
So I got the Page of Pentacles and the Nine of Wands. And I think this is very much about noticing and seeing, like actually look at what's in front of you. And I love that this is a pentacle, the Page of Pentacles here, not the Page of Swords or the Page of Cups, because it's not about noticing what we're feeling. It's about noticing like what is actually sitting on the table in front of you. Let's look at that first. And then I feel like this Nine of Wands is really speaking to what you were saying with the 10 of Pentacles here. Like, it's about noticing and then about the follow through. Yeah. Like, that is what we can learn from Lilia here, and that whole episode, and kind of the philosophy of tarot that they present in this story. It's about looking at what's in front of you and about not, at a certain point, Lilia was doing it wrong. Like, she wasn't doing the reading right, and she was cutting it really close there at the end. And I think, really following through with it, pushing through, not giving up, even when things might be a little confusing or unclear, but just pushing through to the end.
If you watch the series, isn't that scene, even though they don't say anything about it, mirroring that Nine of Swords? Like, the swords are falling closer. It's like the worst thing you can imagine, the sword of Damocles coming down.
Well, and ultimately the way that whole episode ends, that is the 10 of Swords.
Yes. Oh, it's even if you watch it on silent, it's a beautifully shot show. It is just pretty to look at. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, before we bid farewell to Agatha All Along, there's so much in it, and we can only talk about so much. I feel like we can make 3 more of these episodes on Agatha, but we're going to wrap up with this now and do one final shuffle and reading on what it is that we are meant to take away as, like, I don't know, tarot lovers who are pseudo divination witches of some kind, of some shape or size. What should we learn, not just from the use of tarot in this series, but from this coven who are on a journey? What takeaway? How are they speaking to us with one voice? So we have Jen, Agatha, Alice, Lilia, and Teen.
You also can't forget Sharon, our first Green Witch, and Rio, our OG Green Witch.
That's right. Sharon is just a victim. Like, I don't even.
I'm so excited to see her come back too. I was like, yes, because I love Deborah Jo Rupp. I think she's an amazing actress. I definitely
like always plays the same character, though. I kind of want to see her do another thing.
Oh, she's capable of more. She's capable of more. Okay, so what should we take away from our Coven of Witches? Okay, so I got the Moon and the Page of Swords. I'm getting a lot of pages, like court cards and pages specifically today. I think I've seen every page. No, that's not true.
You saw the Page of Cups and the Page of Pentacles.
So I've seen every page with the Page of Wands. Interesting. Okay. So I really think here what like the ultimate lesson, or what a not ultimate, but a takeaway that we can glean from this series is take a second look. Like, are you sure that what you see, what you think you see, is what you actually see? There's a lot of treachery going on here, right? Like between Agatha, and even Rio at certain points is not completely upfront about who or what she is. Everybody's got a secret to hide. Everybody's not telling the full truth. And ultimately they are successful because they decide that with each other, they are worth a second look. They are worth, like, okay, I know you weren't truthful with me here, but what about now? And I think, yeah, don't always believe what you see at first in another.
I like that. It's a little tricky. Like, be vigilant, be careful, pay attention. I really like that. They are clever and suspicious in a good way. All right, I got the 7 of Pentacles and the 9 of Pentacles. The 7 of Pentacles represents the moment when Billy is trying to do some mind magic to bring his twin brother back, to be his spirit to be put into somebody's body. This is a card like you really need to know the show in order to make sense of what's happening in this. I'll say this about that deck, or this deck. I really think that if you haven't seen the show, it is not a great deck for you. Here's the 9 of Pentacles. And this is the moment when Agatha squeezes out a tear and is able to see something grow from the seed that she saved from the period of her son's passing. I'd love to know what you think of this. I mean, we have like the 7 of Pentacles in the traditional sense is like harvest, work, keep doing the work. It feels slow, but you'll get there. And we see like their work in progress, and Agatha really helping Billy do his mind spirit melding magic. And then I think that Agatha is really moved by her ability to even squeeze out a tear and grow something from the seed she didn't even realize had been in her locket. But I don't know. Is this like be vulnerable? Is this pull the spirits down and grow dandelions? I'm having trouble with this one.
I mean, what do I think about that? I mean, nothing really goes well for anybody throughout the arc of this show. I think the only person that ultimately kind of gets away in the end, and they talk about this in the final episode, is Jen. Like, she's the only person that really and truly, but even to get there, she suffered quite a bit.
Yes.
She lost friends that she had made. She lost the possibility of a coven once again, but she did ultimately get her powers back, and she went off to go live in the world. I hope they make a second season where we get to see more of her in it. And I know the 7 of Pentacles can often be considered like, failure. Isn't it the Lord of Failure in the?
It is the Lord of Failure for Crowley, and the Lord of Unfulfilled Success in original Golden Dawn, which feels like better to me than failure. It's like success is possible. You haven't done it yet, but don't get there yet.
I really feel like, yeah, it is about not being there yet, but like you will eventually get there. Like, it's not that success isn't possible, because even that moment in that scene where Billy is trying to kind of grasp at straws to find a body to put his brother into, you know, what does he say? And he says something about like not thinking that he can do it, and she's like, stop it, stop saying that.
Yeah.
And so I think this is about like when we are attempting something, whatever it is, keeping our sights focused on the success, not on the possibility of failure. Like, we are supposed to keep our sights focused on that 9 of Pentacles, on that dandelion.
It's really dark when he is finally able to get Tommy into a body, because Tommy's spirit then enters the body of a boy who's being bullied and drowned. So we are to understand that his twin brother's spirit is entering a body, and like, yay, his twin brother's spirit is entering the world, but he's entering the world in the body of a child who was bullied while drowning. And I think that's the emotional pull for us to really care about his dream at the end of going to find his brother and kind of rescue him from this body that he's put into this precarious situation. And we finally get this for Agatha, but it's a seed that she saves from the hundreds, the centuries old death of her son. It seems like there is always a sting, like there's always some pain, some really sharp pain even, with the fulfillment. Like, the coven survives, but really is only Billy, Agatha, and Jen. And those 3 succeed in a certain kind of way, in their own ways, kind of. Certainly Jen, I think, is the big winner of the game show. But they had to, there were people sacrificed along the way. So this feels like a reality check, and not in an awful way, but like it can cut. Like, if it hurts, it doesn't necessarily mean you're on the wrong road. But just know that like the road might really, really hurt. There is an end in sight, though. There's a dandelion.
The wish.
All right. Any other final thoughts about this series? I think that captures it for me.
No, I think that's about it. I mean, if you're watching this and you made it all the way to this point, first off, and you haven't seen it, what are you doing? But second off, definitely go watch it. Even with all the spoilers that we gave you, it is worth a watch. I really enjoyed it. And I'm resistant to things superhero and Marvel. So this does not feel anything like a Marvel movie at all. So
yeah, this is not, Endgame, Age of Ultron vibe. This is a different approach. It's worth noting that the producer of the show has said she does not do second seasons of anything. There will be no second season of this show. It's kind of a bummer. I appreciate the spirit of that, though. Like, let it live. But the superhero Wiccan, maybe he'll turn up in a forthcoming movie or show of his own. Let's hope. I think that he was, in comic book history, the first Jewish gay superhero, which is like fab. It's really very specific, but also like, thank you. I'm glad that he's having a bar mitzvah. We got to meet his boyfriend. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap up with a question for the collective to take on the road with you when you turn off YouTube. And our question today is, for all of us, where are we on the witch's road of life? Like the metaphorical witch's road. Like, so what is our elemental or thematic trial in the next few days? What is our upcoming trial?
Ooh, that's a great question.
If the tower came up, it would be like, yep. The world is having a collective trial known as the Tower. All right, so we're doing our usual 1 card per person. Ooh, I got the Fool.
I got the Hermit.
They kind of are positioned in a similar way. This is the beginning.
From the first episode, can I tell you that first episode feels like it is part of a different show altogether. Like, it's hard to even remember it.
It does.
Look how naked she is.
She is very naked. The scene where she is in the morgue taking off her clothes and like revealing who she is, the shot of that was so beautifully executed. The filmmaking in this. All right, I'll stop babbling. So what trial are we on? A Fool and a Hermit. Now, it feels like the beginning of a joke. A fool and a hermit go on the witch's road. I think, well, if we sort of take these a piece at a time, I'm going to read this as if the Fool comes first, just because. I'd probably read it differently if I read them reverse, but if I read them that way, that the Fool comes first, feels like there's a kind of, you're going to need to take a risk, and you're going to be doing that all by yourself. Like the next few days are going to have something come up that will really ask you to like have beginner's mind. We know I love that phrase, to have beginner's mind, and leave all, like, embrace vulnerability, not really running around naked, but emotionally naked and vulnerable, and know that you're going to need to do it all by your lonesome.
Yeah. I think this is the part of, like, if we want to follow the arc of the Witch's Road that we see in this series, this is the part where she's covenless, right? Like, she is on her own. And I think what that Fool is also saying, like, not only is it taking a risk and having to do it on your own, but that vulnerability and that openness is what will attract that coven to you. So you might be on your own now, but in taking that risk, in kind of stepping into that vulnerability, you're going to be pulling others into you through that.
I like that. And knowing that we could have gotten generally the same idea with different cards or minor cards, but with these being 0 and 9 in the majors, it feels like it's a reminder to us, like, there are a bunch left. Like, you're beginning the road. You'll find your coven. Like, all the other stuff we talked about, you'll get there, but this part is yours alone. I like that, because sometimes it does feel lonely and daunting to do something, but the reminder that, like, it's okay. Be a fool, take a risk, do it by yourself, you'll get there. Yeah. All right, anyway.
Okay, well, thank you for talking TV shows with us on this episode of Sibyl Unscripted. You can stay tuned for our weekly videos with the next of this particular series, the Sibyl Unscripted, coming in August. But in the meantime, we invite you to check out our revitalized offerings that we have on our website. We're calling it the Cabinet of Cartomantic Curiosities. So we got together and we put our divination witchiness to work, and we've come up with some really amazing readings, including a 2-voiced reading that has Danielle and I pulling cards at the same time together for the person asking. I think just from watching our videos, if you've seen them before, that we love reading together, and that's something that we really get a lot of joy out of, and then also get a lot of insight out of. Mm-hmm. So it'll give us an excuse to get together and talk all about you with our cards in hand. You can find the link for that particular reading in the description box below, and we can do that reading either live and over Zoom, or we can do a pre-recorded reading for you, whatever suits your schedule best. You can also find in the description box below all of the information about the decks, our social media places you can find us, as well as a link to our other readings that we have available in our Cabinet of Curiosities. But until next time, friends, we will see you in the lab.
Bye, guys.